just loving this so much. It already feels like it's gonna be a 5-star. Hey, how's it going? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Gabby, and today we're going to be starting on a really casual thriller and horror reading vlog, mainly because I have had the thriller and horror books piling up that are new releases that I've been so excited to get to, and I wasn't sure which vlogs I wanted to include them in, so I just decided to squeeze them into this vlog. I actually rearranged some of my reading plans this month just so I could include this book, Her Last Breath by Taylor Adams, into a reading vlog, because I desperately wanted to read this book so badly, because Taylor Adams is like one of my favorite thriller authors writing today. Some of my favorites from Taylor Adams include No Exit as well as Her Last Word, and this is his newest release that just published in the month of February. This one is a new thriller book that's about these two girls that are best friends that go into this cave. They go on this caving expedition and then everything goes wrong. There's this guy that's kind of like lurking behind them in the cave and they don't know what he's doing there. And so this is one of the books that I will be reading in this vlog. I also finally got around to reading The Body by Bethany C. Morrow. This one is a new horror book that's also publishing in the month of February. And this is one that has really intrigued me because the premise on the back of this book says It Follows meets My Sister the Serial Killer. And this one is being described as a supernatural horror story. So this is one that I've been wanting to get around to for a while. And then lastly, I also end up reading the new book Mocha by Monica Kim. This one is actually an arc that I have on my Kindle, and this book is going to be publishing in the month of April. And this is like one of my top most anticipated horror books of this year because Monica Kim is the same author as The Eyes Are the Best Part, which was one of my top favorite horror books when I read it back in 2024. And so I've been highly anticipating Mocha. It's a 5-star prediction for me. And the word molka is actually a word that's used in South Korea. And the word is used to describe these spy cameras that men are putting in public spaces like women's restrooms to spy on them. Oh my gosh, what a horrific and awful thing. So those are the 3 books that I'm going to be reading in today's video. I do get around to a 4th book, by the way, but it is a DNF of one of my most anticipated books of this year. So like that is a little bit of a bummer, but I'm really glad that I decided to work on this vlog in between some of the other things that I was working on this month because I got around to some of my most anticipated books of the year. So let me send you back a couple of days to when I started on this one. Hi, I am checking in for the first update because I have started reading Her Last Breath by Taylor Adams. I'm currently doing some reading sprints right now on my Patreon, and I got 138 pages in. I've already hit part 2 of this book, so I thought now would be a good time to update you because so far this has been wild. We're basically following these 2 girls who are best friends, and they're going into this cave, and like the way that the caves are being described in this book is truly so horrific. I think going into a cave like this is something that I would never want to do myself because I am so claustrophobic, especially when it comes to stuff like this, and just reading this book is making me so anxious. But our main protagonist that we're following is this woman named Tess. It says that Tess is a shy and claustrophobic legal assistant struggling to pay for law school, whereas her best friend Allie is this woman who is this self-made travel influencer. So Tess talks a lot about how she's like jealous of Allie and her lifestyle at the start of this book. And right at the start of this book, we're reading from 2 different timelines. So we're reading from Tess's point of view in the past as she's kind of like talking about like her and Allie, you know, going into this cave in the first place. But then we also do get these chapters that are told after the caving incident where she's like talking to this detective about what happened. And the way that they're describing this cave, like, oh my gosh, it's making me so anxious. When the detective is like asking her questions, you know, like trying to figure out how the cave looks and like how it functions. And she says, it's not a human place. That's what makes it so hard to describe. There are no walls, no ceiling, no floor. Underground, you have to navigate in 3 dimensions. There's no floor, no logic. You crawl and climb and twist and drop. Maps can't even prepare you for it. Caves were not designed for humans. They couldn't care less if there's enough space for you to squeeze through. Lots of them must be impossible for a human body to fit. And if you pretzel yourself deeply enough into it, far enough down, you'll stay there forever. And it kind of talks about how it says, this is well known within the caving community that victims around the world remain wedged inside their final resting places to this day, as unreachable as the frozen bodies atop Mount Everest. I'm sorry, but I have to ask, like, why would anybody ever want to do this? I was actually watching a TikTok like a few weeks ago talking about how this person got completely stuck in this cave because it's like if you get far enough in the cave, it's like you're just so surrounded by rock that like it just starts to collapse in on your body. And the way that that's being described in this book, oh my gosh, it's making me feel so claustrophobic already. This book has also been talking about the idea of spider crickets. She says, we call them spider crickets. They can jump 6 feet in the air and they have an aggressive startle reflex. That means when they see a human, they'll sometimes jump directly into your face. I'm sorry, what do you mean? That's horrifying. So just the descriptions of the cave alone are already making me so freaked out in this book. But the worst part of this book that it does talk about in the premise is that Tess and Allie realize they're not alone. It says a stranger who claims to be a fellow caver harasses them. Confident, take no shit, Allie insults the guy and he retaliates. Soon Tess is trapped inside a narrow crawl space hundreds of feet underground fighting to stay alive. So this definitely feels like it starts to become more of like a survival story. I mean, we do know that Tess, did survive the situation because 24 hours later, she's the one in the hospital talking to the detective about what happened. And so we know that Tess survives, but it's like still so intense to be reading these scenes when she's like trapped in this cave. And it seems like the mystery of this book is like trying to figure out, like who this guy was that was like in the cave with them. I mean, it says together they begin to suspect that the brutal attack wasn't so random after all. Who was Allie really? Why did this man target them? And did Tess really leave the danger behind when she escaped the cave? So there is a lot of mystery surrounding this guy and like why he would have harmed them and like why he was following them in the first place. I think Taylor Adams is such a great writer because I think something he does so well is writing the action and the suspense in his stories. I like that most of his stories kind of take place during like a 24-hour period and it's just like non-stop action the entire time. I've already just felt like so on the edge of my seat the entire time I've been reading this morning. So yeah, I'm planning on finishing up this book today because I don't even have that much left of it. I'm almost like 50% of the way through at this point. In the afternoon, but I have a reading update because I just finished reading Her Last Breath by Taylor Adams. And this kind of sucks because I think I'm going to have an unpopular opinion when it comes to this book, because right now on Goodreads, this book is getting really, really, really high average ratings. I mean, granted, the book is not out yet at the time that I'm filming this. I think it comes out around like mid-February, but right now this book has about 300 ratings on Goodreads and I think it has like a 4.4 out of 5. Like it is getting really, really high ratings. And it's not that I didn't like this book. I just think it's going to end up being around a 3-star for me. I thought this one was just okay. I was really bummed because I was really loving this book at the start of it. But I think the main reason why I want to give this book 3 stars and why I found it to be a little bit disappointing is because I thought the plot twist in this book was so obvious. It was just something that I found to be so predictable. I actually wrote in my notes app when I was about like 150 pages into the book, I was like, okay, here's my prediction. Here's what I think is going on. And then I ended up being right. And I kind of hate when that happens in a thriller, but I feel like this plot twist was very, very obvious to me. And I don't know if it's because like I read a lot of thrillers and I've seen this twist done again and again, but like a lot of people on Goodreads really seem to be like surprised by this plot twist with all of the high ratings. And so I'm really curious to see how more people feel about this book when it's coming out. I think the best thing about this book is the descriptions of the cave. Like I was saying earlier, I think Taylor Adams is a really great author and I think he's best at creating suspense and like tension. And I had the feeling of being so claustrophobic and so uncomfortable when I was reading this book. There were even some scenes, like especially in the beginning of this book, that I was like thinking about skimming ahead a little bit because it was making me feel so claustrophobic and like so anxious. And I think Taylor Adams is best at writing when it comes to like suspense and tension because I don't think that the mystery element in this book is very strong, at least not in my opinion. I just thought the mystery was very lackluster and just very anticlimactic. Like I definitely expected everything that happened at the ending of this, but I still want to give this book 3 stars because of the way that it made me feel. I think it's really impressive when a thriller can actually make me feel this anxious. And I am the kind of person that like I do get claustrophobic in really tight spaces. And like some of the descriptions in this book of these characters being trapped in this cave, oh my God, it was like unimaginable. It's like the kind of trapped in a cave where like if you take a deep breath and your body moves and you slide a little bit further down and then it's like you can't take another deep breath or like you can't breathe because your ribs don't even have the space to move. Like it is very intense and very claustrophobic in that way. And I think this author did a great job with like building that atmosphere. And going into caves is a very real and deep fear of mine, and this book just really like heightened all of those fears. But I'm sad that I didn't love this, and I especially think the book started to feel so repetitive. Like once I started to get a grasp on what I thought was happening, I was just like waiting for the twist to drop. I was just like, come on, like get to it. And then also I found the writing to be a little bit repetitive because this book really overuses the nickname baby girl and then also sesame seed. Like there's a few different nicknames that get so overused to the point where I was like, okay, like I'm over it. I'm done with the nicknames. So I had a few nitpicky things about the writing as well, which is why I don't think I'll give this anything more than 3 stars. Like, damn, what a bummer to only give this one 3 stars, because I really thought that I was gonna love this book. Like, I really thought I was about to read a new all-time favorite thriller today, and unfortunately, that's not how this one panned out. I'm gonna be wrapping up my reading sprints on Patreon in just a few minutes. I'm probably going to take a quick shower and wash my hair because I feel like I need to, and then I might actually go by the library because I have a few of my library books that I need to drop off. I might also go to the grocery store to pick up a few things, and then me and my mom are probably going to be continuing our watch of Supernatural. We're currently watching season 6, and we're around like episode 7 right now. We watched 4 episodes last night, and season 6 is going well so far, but like as a Sam girl, my heart is hurting so badly in like every single episode, so we'll have to see, because I've heard the ending of season 6 gets absolutely wild, so I'm really looking forward to it. Hello, it is now the next morning, and I wanted to update you because I just drove down to one of my local parks. I mean, I guess it's not super like local to me because this park is about 40 minutes away, but I decided to drive down to this park today because the weather is so nice today. For February, like we are having one of the warmest Februaries that we've ever had here in Washington. I mean, today on the weather, it was showing that it was going to be like 57 degrees, like nearly 60 degrees out here today. So I knew that I wanted to come down here to the park, and actually like down here by the water, it's a little bit colder. I think it's only like 48 degrees down here, so I might actually need to grab my hoodie out of my bag because I'm wearing this new cute red jacket that my mom got for me for my birthday, and I'm loving this, so hopefully I can put on my hoodie under this. But anyway, I wanted to update you because while I was driving down here, I got the chance to start on this one, The Body by Bethany C. Morrow. I'm listening to this one on audio, and this one is a new horror book that I've been so curious about. You know, I don't think I've actually read anything from this author yet. I realized that this one was the same author as Cherish Farah, which is a book that I have not yet read, but I do have plans to read that one very soon, actually this month. And I'm only 62 pages into this one right now, but I'm already really liking the writing in this a lot. This one especially piqued my interest because on the blurb of this book, it says, "It Follows meets My Sister the Serial Killer." So I was like, what do you mean? Because It Follows is like one of my favorite horror movies ever. And so in this story, the first chapter starts off so strong and like so intense. We're following this character named Mavis, and right at the start of this book, she gets into this car accident and she literally thinks that she dies, and she's like having this panic attack, and they end up calling her husband, and her husband is the one that's like reassuring her that like everything's okay. On the premise here, it says Mavis thought she left her trauma behind when she broke from her parents' congregation, but some scars still remain, and she's not the only one under threat. Her husband is now too. So she starts to wonder if this car accident was like really an accident, and then there's like this series of like bizarre things that start happening to her and her husband, and she really like genuinely believes that they're under threat. It says Mavis begins to realize hell isn't reserved for the afterlife, and sinner or not, nobody is coming to save her. So this one obviously feels like it's gonna have a lot of, you know, religious themes in this one. I mean, I did notice on the cover here that the T in the body has a cross on it, and that it looks like it's like a church window behind there. So I have a feeling this one is going to involve a lot of religious horror, which isn't always my favorite thing, but I do still read it from time to time. I was also a little bit nervous to read this one today because when I pull up the Goodreads page, I noticed that this book has like a 3.1 out of 5 on Goodreads. I mean, this book is not published at the time that I'm filming this, so the Goodreads page only has about like 180 reviews on there right now, but still, I was like, a 3.1 out of 5 is really low, and it had me wondering why. But I feel like horror books are the ones that I still gravitate to the most, even if the ratings are low, because I feel like oftentimes a lot of my favorite horror books that I've ever read are books that are rated really low on Goodreads, so like that's not going to put me off from wanting to read this. I'm hoping to finish the rest of this afternoon. I also might stop in the coffee shop that's like right here on the water, and I might get an iced coffee, even though it's probably too cold for iced coffee, but you know what? I don't care. I drink iced coffee all year round.
I found you in your wine. I took you in my wings, and I fly you away from here. 'Cause honey, you're broken, and I know it, 'cause I've been there. Wounded and
hours have passed and it's now about like 2:30 in the afternoon. I was able to read out there by the water for almost like 2 hours before I came back to my car because I did get a little bit cold. It's not really that cold outside today, at least not cold for the month of February, but like it still did get a little bit too cold to be sitting there for that long. I mean, I'm glad that I put my hoodie on under my jacket because I definitely needed it, but it was a really nice day out and it was so crazy because I was sitting on that log right by the beach and that little seagull bird just kept coming up to me. It would just sit on that log next to me and it was inching like closer and closer until I would like look at it and then it would take a few steps back. And like even after a kid would like scream at it and the bird would go and fly away, like 10 minutes later it would come back and just sit next to me. I don't know if it wanted to be near me because it was trying to like get to my coffee or if it was like smelling food in my backpack or maybe having the red jacket really attracts the birds. I don't know. I feel like I've heard something about that. Like, doesn't the red make the birds want to like shit on you? Because I've heard that over the years that like when you have a red car, birds are more likely to shit on it. And so maybe birds are just really drawn to the color red. Like, I don't really know. But the bird was so cute. It honestly like made my day. It just kept coming and sitting next to me and inching closer and closer and it was so sweet. But anyway, I do have a reading update because I just finished reading The Body. And you know, after finishing this book, I do understand the lower ratings for this one. I think for me, it's going to be around like a 3-star read. There was a lot that I really enjoyed about this, but I also think this book was not the perfect book for me for a few different reasons. You know, I was really loving the first like 100 to like 150 pages of this. I really thought that I could give this one 4 stars. I was having a good time. I was really invested, and I really loved how easy this book was to get into, you know, because one of the things that I keep seeing on Goodreads reviews is people saying that this book kind of reads like a fever dream, which I can see why people would describe this book in this way, but I kind of disagree because I feel like sometimes when I read books that feel like fever dreams, they're almost like kind of confusing and like they're the kind of book where you don't really know what's going on some of the time. But with my experience with this book, it was really easy to get into and really easy to understand for the most part. I mean, it definitely started to feel a little bit more fever dreamy in the second half, and I actually think the second half of this book just didn't really work for me. It was very slow paced, and I feel like this is one of those stories that's kind of hard to pin down like what kind of genre this really is because there are some really horrific moments, and like there's an underlying theme of like religious horror throughout this entire book. But I also think that there's a lot of moments in this book that feel like family drama, marital drama. You know, there's a lot of stuff happening with her husband in this book that just didn't particularly interest me too much. But I am so happy that I read this today because now I know that I do really like this author's writing style for the most part. And I mean, as far as the horror in this book goes, there were some really, really great horror scenes, especially some like body horror scenes that were really intense. And even though the religious horror elements of this book didn't really work for me, I still really loved this author's writing overall, which is great. Because now I know that I probably have a better chance of liking other books from this author that don't involve religion as much. I also think this book was like the perfect length because it's only about like 270 pages, because I think if this book was any longer then it would have really, really dragged. But because it was only 270 pages, even the parts that seemed slow paced, it still went by quick enough. Oh, the train is coming behind me. Oh, can you see it? Yeah, you can see it. I hope that you can still hear me. Dude, every time that I'm getting ready to leave this park, the train comes through here and then I get delayed by like 10 minutes. I'm freaking cursed, man. Anyway, I kind of lost my train of thought because of the train. And that was not a pun that I intended. You know, too, on the back of this book, how it talks about It Follows meets My Sister the Serial Killer. Like, I don't really know if I see the comparison to It Follows myself, or like, I don't know if that's something that I would compare this book to. Anyway, I am going to head back to the house. Hopefully this train doesn't delay me too much. And I don't have anything crazy going on tonight other than watching more Supernatural Season 6 with my mom. Season 6 of Supernatural is going okay. I'm about like 11 episodes into it at this point. And like, as a Sam girl, my heart is just breaking in like every single episode and it hurts me. I think so far the best thing about season 6 for me has been Dean and Cass. And like anytime Cass is in an episode, I'm like, oh my god, it's getting rated higher because Cass is so fucking funny. I just love how awkward he is. He makes every episode so much better. And any episode that doesn't have Cass, I'm always like, where's Cass? So yeah, anyways, let's head back.
Another night, I fall in your sight. Your new eyes cut sharp like a knife. Take a moment and look all around you. I don't want you caught off guard or alone with. I come for you, I need you to know that I would never walk away. I know what you need, I would bleed for you, but you're taking somebody home.
the next afternoon and I have some reading updates. So yesterday while I was on the drive home, I decided to start listening to the audiobook for Cruelty Free because this is one that I had an ALC from Libro and it was one of the books that I was hoping to read this month because this was one of my most anticipated kind of like thriller and horror books. And I think the reason why this one was such a highly anticipated book from me is because it was saying that this is perfect for fans of Monica Kim and Rachel Yoder. And Monica Kim is an author that I've given 5 stars before with The Eyes Are the Best Part, so I was really curious about this. And the premise just says a disgraced movie star returns to Hollywood 10 years after the kidnapping of her young daughter, intent on seeking revenge. And you're following this woman named Lila Devlin. It says that she was an A-list actress at the time working in Hollywood, and her daughter went missing, and a lot of people were like questioning her as a mother and like questioning if she was even capable of being a good mother. And she ended up leaving LA, and now it's been 10 years later, and she's coming back to LA because she wants to have this like skincare line. I don't know, I only got about 20% of the way into this book, and like I think it's gonna be a DNF from me. I'm really not liking this at all. I just don't really care for the writing in this book, and something that I wasn't expecting is that not only do we get this story like from Lila's perspective, but then also in each one of the chapters, there's almost like this interview style where you get all these other characters talking about Lila's career over the years and like how she rose to fame and kind of like talking about her career, but it all just feels like it's done in a way that's like very shallow and like very surface level, and like I just don't really care about Lila as a character. I do understand that I think this is one of those books that's trying to have a lot of like satire and it's trying to be kind of like lighthearted, but there's something specific about this writing that is just not working for me. It's not doing anything for me, and I was getting so annoyed and like frustrated just listening to the first 20% of this book. So maybe it's just me, I don't know, but I also have noticed that a lot of my friends on Goodreads are rating this one pretty low. Like most of my friends on Goodreads are giving this one between 2 and 3 stars. So I think it's gonna be a DNF from me, which is so unfortunate because I was really hoping that I would love this one. I mean, I'm obsessed with the cover. I think the cover is so stunning and I love the colors and I love how weird it is. But sadly, I don't think it's gonna be the book for me. So instead, today I decided to start reading Molka by Monica Kim on my Kindle because I got an arc of this one on NetGalley. And you know, I was just mentioning Monica Kim because she's the author of The Eyes Are the Best Part, aka one of my favorite horror books that I've ever read. I gave this book an easy 5 stars and it was in my top 5 favorite books that I read in the year of 2024. So it's safe to say that Mocha has been one of my most anticipated horror books of this year. This book is actually publishing in the month of April, and I am 47% of the way through this book right now on my Kindle, and when I tell you I am loving this so much, it already feels like it's going to be a 5 star. Just truly the best feeling ever because I love when I give an author's debut book a 5 star and then I feel like there's a lot of expectations and hopes riding on that second book, and sometimes I feel like authors just can't live up to the hype of that first book, but so far Mocha feels so promising. Like it is so good. All I really knew about this book going into it was that we were going to be following this woman who was working in South Korea. The word molka is actually used in South Korea to describe this spyware that men use in like women's bathrooms and like in public spaces where they're like secretly recording and spying on women. And this is a really big issue in South Korea. I've actually like read about this online. I've heard it talked about in like K-dramas and other like Korean movies that I've watched. And it's like a very serious problem right now that's happening in Korea where like a lot of these men are installing these spyware cameras everywhere, and the government in South Korea is doing nothing about it. And all these men, like even if they do get caught, all they really get is a slap on the wrist. And these poor women, like their privacy is being completely invaded in like a really disgusting and gross way. And so in this book, what I'm really liking about it is that we get 2 perspectives. We're following this woman who works in this office, and we kind of get to follow her really interesting perspective where she like meets this like really rich and wealthy man, and the wealthy guy is like, hey, I want to take you out on a date. And he kind of like introduces her into this wealthy world in South Korea that she's not really a part of. She's also dealing with a lot of grief because her older sister passed away recently within the last 5 years, and she had a really complicated relationship with her sister because she always felt like she wasn't good enough or like she wasn't as good as her sister. Her parents always made her feel like she was less than compared to her sister. So she does kind of have like a complicated relationship with her sister who died, and there is a little bit of mystery throughout the story as you try to figure out like what exactly happened to her sister and like how she passed away, which I'm really loving, by the way. And I feel like the sister dynamic in this book, it's really reminding me a lot of Bat Eater and Other Names for Cora Zhang, like almost to a T, with like the way that the sister relationship is kind of complicated and she's starting to feel like maybe she's being like haunted by her sister. It reminds me of that book so much, which I also gave 5 stars, by the way. Like that was another one of my favorite books that I read last year. But then I love that we not only get this girl's perspective in this book, but we also get the perspective of this guy who is like a total creeper that's working in her office. And you know, he's actually the one who has installed a bunch of like spy cameras into the women's restroom in their office building. And so we get to read from his point of view as as he's like watching the cameras while he's working and like being a total fucking creeper. Like honestly, reading from his perspective is like getting under my skin. Like it is so creepy and so weird, and it makes me so furious. But I feel like that's something that this author does really well, is she writes about these men who are very realistic, unfortunately, with like their misogynistic views of women. And it's infuriating to read about, but it's also unfortunately like very accurate with how some men tend to view women. And so his perspective adds like a whole nother layer to this book, because you're reading about him as he's starting to get really obsessive with this one girl that he keeps watching in the bathroom. Oh my god, it's just such a nightmare. And so I am loving going back and forth between the two perspectives, because that's something this book didn't really have, because this one was only from the perspective of like the teenage girl in this book. But god, Monica Kim is such a talented writer. I just already have the strongest feeling that this is going to be an easy 5-star for me, and like one of my favorite books that I've read this year. And it's so exciting that I already have this feeling with another one of her books. Like she's definitely going to become one of my top favorite authors after this one. Like I just know it. So I'm having an amazing time with Mocha. It's about 3 o'clock in the afternoon right now, and my sister's going to be over in about an hour because we have our Troop Talk live show happening on my Patreon later tonight. And the Troop Talk live shows that I do with my sister on my Patreon, they're just monthly live shows that we do where we just like go live for about an hour and a half and we just talk and we just yap about anything and everything. And sometimes we play games, and they're just like really fun, laid back live shows that I really look forward to. And then hopefully later tonight, before the night is over, I would really like to finish this one because it's going so well. I think out of all the alcohols, I think vodka is my least favorite, like, hard alcohol.
It's disgusting.
Like, I don't really, I'm more of a tequila girl myself. I mean, I don't really drink hard alcohol, like, in general. Like, not really. I'm not a big, and even, like, regular alcohol, like, if I'm gonna have regular alcohol, I like white wines, like Moscatos, or, like, rosé, like sangrias, like, or cider. Yeah, like, I'm a big cider person. But I also, like, I don't drink alcohol very much. But if we're, like, drinking, then I like tequila. If I'm gonna go for a hard alcohol, I don't like gin.
I like tequila, how it's like salty.
Bagel?
Bagel.
Oh my god, it's gonna be bagel. Oh fuck.
Wait, it's a G though.
Okay, G-A.
Gavel.
Oh my god. We're geniuses. Can it be? Oh my god, tent?
Oh my god.
What? Tent? Bitch, are you kidding me? Okay, hip hop man solo, that's really popular right now. Like even more popular than Kendrick. I didn't think that was possible. But here we are. Oh my god, who's charting right now? Like, who is the shit right now? Oh my god, I should know this. I feel like it's gonna be somebody I know and I'm gonna scream. Is it like Lil Baby or something? I don't know. Travis Scott, maybe? Is Travis Scott after 2011? That's gotta be it. Oh! I was gonna say, who the fuck is more popular than Kendrick if it's not Travis Scott? Oh my god, so fun. Oh, we disappeared. Hello, it is many hours later. It's almost 10 o'clock at night, and I have had a really great night. Me and my sister, we ended up just getting fast food for dinner, and then we had the Troop Talk, and we had so much fun, and I've been laying in bed for the last like hour and a half finishing the rest of Molka, and like, oh my god, the amount of joy that I feel right now. I loved this. 5 stars. This is easily my favorite thing that I've read so far this year. Dude, Monica Kim is literally that bitch. This is how you write feminine rage. I just love this book so much. Like there were so many scenes in the second half of this book where my jaw was just like on the floor and my eyeballs were like the entire time I was reading it. Like, what do you mean? This is only the second book that Monica Kim has published, and it's another 5-star for me. Like, I am so happy about it. It just feels so good to find a new all-time favorite author. Like, are you kidding me? This was so good. I think Monica Kim is incredibly talented at writing these like feminist, good for her, feminine rage type of stories, because men have the actual audacity. The way that she writes the men in her stories, like, oh my god, they are so gross, they are so horrific, they are so infuriating. You know, they are the type of men who are so misogynistic that they literally think that they're better than women. And I think this one was especially a tough read in some ways because you are reading from the perspective of this man who thinks he's so much better than this woman. And like some of his thoughts and the way that he thinks about himself and the way that he thinks about her, oh my god, it was incredibly disturbing. But I actually really loved getting both of their perspectives in this book. I just think it made it a lot more interesting. And I think this book has a lot of really great social commentary about so many things, but especially when it comes to, you know, the way that these sex crimes are handled with the law, and the way that, like, if a man does something really horrific, like sets up some spyware cameras, they're just like, oh my god, slap on the wrist, like, don't do that. But they kind of view that almost as like, it's not even harming women, like, you're not harming anybody. So these men don't get punished in the same way as like a sexual assault because they think that it's harmless to just take some videos of women. It's actually so sickening to read, and it makes me so mad because I know that this is how people are responding to this. But then the way that this same law enforcement responds so differently to women, because when it comes to a man's privacy and a man's reputation, like, we gotta stand down, you know, like, they gotta protect their boys. But when it's a woman, it's just like, okay, well, she's a crazy bitch. God, I just love this so much. Like, I'm thinking to myself right now, I'm like, did I love this even more than The Eyes Are the Best Part? I don't know if it's like too soon to say, but part of me thinks that I actually did like this one even more. I think the reason why I might like this one even more than The Eyes Are the Best Part is because I remember saying, when I read The Eyes Are the Best Part, I remember saying that it was a really satisfying book to read. Like, the ending was very satisfying, but there was like nothing surprising about the story necessarily. Whereas like this one, not that it was like the most surprising thing ever, but there were definitely some moments in the second half of this book that had my jaw like on the floor. I was like, Monica Kim just like really went there. And this book was surprising for me in a few different ways, and it was also very satisfying. Like, it was so satisfying, and it just gave me such a thrill to read this book tonight. I think if you enjoyed The Eyes Are the Best Part, you definitely need to read this. And I also think if you enjoy the kind of like feminist horror that's like good for her, feminine rage type of shit, then I think you would absolutely love this. So I'm so glad to be ending this video on a 5-star on my favorite book that I've read so far this year. Like, that feels incredible. This book is going to be publishing in the month of April, so definitely keep your eyes out because I'm going to be getting myself a hardcover version of this book. I need it in my life. And I hope that you enjoyed this thriller and horror reading vlog. I know that I love making vlogs like this where I just get the chance to catch up on some of my most anticipated thriller and horror books of the year. So I'm glad I had the chance to do that in this video. And if you've read any of the books in this video, or if you plan to, let me know your thoughts on any of them. And thank you so much for watching as always. And I'll see you very soon with another video. Bye.